I'm Dr. Elizabeth Gattu. I currently have the pleasure and privilege of serving in the CTL Faculty Director role. And we are very excited today to have Jason Martinez and Evely Pacheco telling us a little bit about a series that they're going to be doing on our campus later this year that is really going to help us think a little bit more about AI, think about AI from various different perspectives and lenses, and also continue to think about how workforce needs are adapting and changing as a result of emerging technology. So with that, I will turn it over to Jason and Evely.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cantu. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. My name is Jason Martinez, counseling faculty here at Australia Mountain Community College, and very shortly I will be introducing my partner in crime for this presentation. But first of all, I wanted to give a big shout out to Dr. Cantu and Grace Kirker for allowing this to happen. Dr. Liz Cantu and I have been talking about AI for several years, and I know my co-presenter has been a huge advocate of AI for several years, and finally all these powers came together. I will tell you, we are not going to tool train you today. We're going to talk about high-level cultural fluency stuff. So we are taking a totally different approach to this, and so I'm excited to bring this four-part series to you starting in the spring. Today is just to kind of set the tone for what to expect out of our four-part series. So once again, Jason Martinez, I'm counseling faculty here at EMCC, and I have been dabbling with AI for several years in my outside adventures and really starting to explore how it's used for mental health in terms of the pitfalls, accountability, cautionary tales, the effectiveness or lack of effectiveness, and how it can be utilized in a cathartic, therapeutic way in tandem with human beings, which we also need human beings. So with that, I'm going to turn the next part, after I do the introduction, over to my partner, Evely Pacheco. Evely is a student at Australia Mountain Community College, an adult learner who has been exploring AI, critical thinking, and learning design both in the classroom and beyond. Today's session, in collaboration between myself and Evely, is a partnership focused on critical thinking and adaptability in the age of AI. So, with that, I'm going to turn it over to, actually, we're going to go to a really quick pre-survey. So, in order to kind of gauge where people are at, we're putting a QR code up on the screen and in the presentation. Please scan it with your phone or whatever you got real quick. It'll open up a Google Doc. Please feel free to answer the questions in that survey, and then we will begin the presentation. So today we're going to be co-presenting, as I said earlier, on critical thinking and adaptability. Evely, like I said, is an EMCC student graduating this May, and has been developing AI fluency and engaging students around ethical use, learning integrity, and communication. Through our conversations, we recognize a shared commitment to supporting the student experience while honoring faculty expectations. I have had the pleasure of attending one of Evely's workshops through City of Goodyear Workforce Development on Notebook LM. And she is definitely a pioneer in getting out in the community and championing AI technologies to the community and beyond. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Evely Pacheco.
Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. Thank you for being here. It's an honor to be in your presence, and thank you for sharing this moment with us. First, I want to say I have to express my sincere gratitude. Jason, thank you for partnering and creating this space for this conversation that is so important. And I want to say thank you for the opportunity here today to EMCC and to the Workforce Department. I want to give, this is my first time, so I want to be shouting out my people. So my psychology professors, I also want to just speak on a couple of things that I learned from them, but I also want to say thank you to Dr. Wager for also being great support, especially when we were running the psychology club. I was psychology club president for 2 years. And, but I just have to say, this couldn't have happened without Dr. Liz, okay? I have to say a special thank you for my professor. When I first attended EMCC, she was my first professor, my first class, my first experience here. And I just want to share a little story that on the first day of class, she posed a question to all students. And she says, how are we going to communicate in the 21st century? Little did she know that that question would be with me till now. And it's been, I don't know how many years now since the pandemic. But that word, that sentence stayed with me, the communication part. So she challenged us to start at the beginning of the class, to start thinking of a new way in the 21st century. We began to do a workshop, and our team, my team, was called Tron. Not because I was thinking about AI or because I was thinking about systems or connections or future. And of course, you know, pandemic happened and overnight everything changed. We had to learn a new way to work, to communicate. And now we're back in person. Now, what I had learned in that class, in that moment, in that situation, is that we need to be prepared. So preparation came in. What that moment revealed to me is that education did not fail during that shift. It revealed what mattered most: the ability to think clearly, to ask good questions, and to adapt. AI entered the picture later, but when it did, I didn't approach it as technology first. I approached it using the same frameworks that I learned here: how to reason, how to evaluate, how to communicate. So it became a full circle for me for my communication class. That's why I had to share that story. Because, you know, what we're really talking about today isn't really technology. It's the culture shift, the AI fluency culture. And let's go to presenting. Let's go to the slides. Yeah. So, do you want to share this moment, Jason?
Sure.
I'm going to pass it to Jason for a moment.
So the conversations that we've been having, Emily and I, we've gone back and forth a lot about people's reactions to AI, which is how we came up with this title for this entire series, From Fear to Fluency, because we have heard and seen the fear, and we have both witnessed the fluency of people who really understand the power of these tools, but not just the power of the tools, but the utility, the diversity of the utility, and the endless possibilities these tools contain in terms of really improving every aspect of your life. From the learning process, from processing difficult situations, from planning, from finances, you name it. So many tools out there. So we're really pushing the culture shift from fear to fluency. We are not experts by any means, but I will say I feel like I'm more advanced than most people, and I am a tech dummy when it comes to technology. But the fascinating thing about some of these AI tools is they're so intuitive that once you learn the learning curve about it, it generates more curiosity and more learning. It creates almost a flow state when you get into the learning aspect of these AI apps. So the whole purpose of this workshop series was to move people from the fear aspect to feeling like they could be fluent. So not forcing adoption, but fostering understanding through dialogue and clarity. We plan to have a 4-part series, and again, we're not tool training. We're talking about culture, fluency, attitudes towards AI, the utility of AI, and how people can begin to realize the benefits that AI can provide, not only with their own individual needs, but in relational situations such as pedagogy and other types of relational situations. Learning and integrity. building confidence in navigating AI tools while maintaining academic values. I think a lot of people don't know what's out there, so they're overwhelmed with choices, so they don't even begin to try, right? And really, AI is set up so well to just start clunking around and break it and practice and learn. It's amazing. And reclaiming your role, empowering students to think critically, adapt skillfully, and grow with integrity. I know that there is an educational apprehension to AI in some schools of thought. Some of us have fully embraced it and are fully in love with it and understand how to use it in the pedagogical relationship. It is not a cheat code. When it's used correctly, it can be used to make people think even harder and deeper and farther and produce better products. I've witnessed this with my 13-year-old. Like literally, have him master prompting and system prompting has literally changed the way he does homework. He no longer feels like, I don't know what I'm doing, this is hard. He has a robot helping him. It's like a robot tutor, and he loves it. And he's been able to persevere through difficult learning situations because of these tools. So the whole intent for this series is literally the title, move from fear to fluency. And fluency is a big word. I think I'm fluent. I'm not nearly as fluent as some of my counterparts. But compared to some of my circles, they think I'm an AI genius just because I can make some products that look really cool. So anyway, the benefit is immense, diverse, and really unchecked at this point. So that's why we were so passionate about bringing this topic in this way. We're not tool training. We do not want to do that. That turns people off and it overwhelms people. We want to talk about moving people in terms of adaptability, fluency, and attitudes towards AI.
Thank you, Jason. So we're going to talk about the culture shift and from fear to fluency again. This is culture conversation, not a AI tools class. Culture shapes behavior before policy does. Fear creates silence and avoidance. Silence leads to misuse and disengagement. Guidance creates clarity. I'm going to say this again. Guidance creates clarity. Clarity builds integrity. And this is very helpful as a student to be in a class where I feel safe, where I don't feel judged, when I feel like, oh, I'm going to cheat, because you're setting the tone in your classrooms. It's very important how you set the tone for a student when they're coming in for the first time. We have, this is a snapshot of our culture. It's 57% of first-generation college students. I'm one of them. I'm 74% part-time. I'm one of them. Family with children, marriage, right? Handling jobs, or if you're an entrepreneur. 60% Hispanic, 38% of other backgrounds, 44% entering college for the first time. And as entering college now for the first time, it's important that we embrace the AI fluency for the workforce, because community colleges are the workforce. They are in the forefront. And what you see right now, this research, I created this research in my research method class. My professor was Dr. Reese, and I was allowed to be able to do this research and get the sentiment of the usage and perception in our campus. It was 169 responses that I received. And here is it showing you the familiarity of level. So 18% never heard of it, 28% have used it, 54% heard of it, but never used it. And I have to say that though I emailed, because we as students doing research, we send emails out to faculty and professors to have students participate in this research. And what was surprising to me in this research, not only the feedback, because I kind of knew that this generation adapts technology much faster than adults. And I mean us because I'm an adult, I'm past 45. This new generation is already communicating across the world. So what was very enlightening about this is that only 5 teachers answered the survey. And the rest were students. It was 169 responses that I received, and I have it if anyone is interested in seeing it. But now we are seeing that how they're using it for brainstorming, for personal tasks, homework, summarization, right? And I understand that teachers don't want that, and we're gonna get to that a little later. So the perception here is that it's for essay writing and for cheating, right? That's what I keep hearing as a student in campus. Because if you know me, I've been in campus all around and I speak to people from the training center, tutoring center, from MTI, from Psychology Club to Black Student Union. Like I've been Women Rising, PTK. I'm all over to communicate and understand the sentiment and feeling of the student experience at EMCC. So this research was done in less than a year, and it will be great to do another one just to see where we are all at. Now, again, this is what I just mentioned before, 28% use ChatGPT, 54% have never have heard of it but never used it. And the user experience was 95% of users reported positive experience. I'm sure if you used it, you were probably wowed. So the gap here is it's between use and assumption. When we assume the worst, we miss opportunities to teach the best practices. Understanding actual usage patterns helps us provide guidance that meets students where they are. And this is why we're communicating from this perspective. What is AI fluency? AI fluency is not about shortcuts. It's about how students think, question, and reflect. When culture is clear, students ask better questions. Faculty see thinking, not just outputs. Integrity becomes internal, not enforced. You're not teaching AI. We're shaping how we're learning, how learning happens in its presence. And that's what's very important. Before I go into the psychology readiness, one of the things that helped me, which we're going to probably touch on a little bit later, is the class CRE that is being taught here. That helped me ask a lot of questions to AI. Psychology readiness. Now, from fear to clarity, as I spoke before about clarity, the goal for AI fluency is reduce fear, remove shame, create psychological safety for learning. The core insight, fear leads to silence, silence leads to secrecy, and secrecy increase integrity risk. So again, this is what I hear when I speak to students, right? So everybody's like, I'm using ChatGPT, but my teacher doesn't want me to. But all the teachers are using AI. So if we're preparing our students for the workforce, it is crucial that we prepare them with AI fluency to get them ready for the workforce and not, contradict and have them scared to use it, but it's how they're using it. So reframing, fluency creates clarity, clarity supports learning, learning sustains integrity. And in this part of the 4 series that we're doing, we're really going to focus on helping the students understand this and have integrity in their work. The differences of AI degrees and AI fluency. This right here kind of like helped me and Jason see it differently because there's a difference of needs, right? AI degree, specialized in technical training, versus AI fluency, which needs to be applied across all disciplines, needed by 100% of students, especially now that in the workforce, they're already using AI. So one of these things is that when, we have Chandler Community College, when I've gone there, I've been there myself and presented as well. They have now the bachelor's. At Australia, we're teaching the AI course, but the AI course is for degrees. I think now they have a certification, I'm not sure. But the reality is, it's not for the degree. Not everyone is getting a degree in this technical training. I'm not an engineer. I am a psychology student that advocates for AI and that uses AI, and I create work, I create art, I create music, and I have my agency as well. So the AI fluency is what needs to be more explored, open-minded for faculty and staff to understand that this is not a cheating tool. And if you put fear into students, they're going to be fearful when they go out in the workforce with the mindset that I'm not supposed to be using AI when it's already being used. And this is what I was talking about just now, that what students are really feeling in the conversations, what I said before, and the whisperings, like their fear is of doing it wrong, fear of being accused, fear of asking the wrong questions, right? And if you're accusing students from using it, and I'm sure, I mean, I've had conversations with professors that only have classes online and they cannot control that or have that communication, but yes, doing a video of the ethics, right, and clarity of the usage of AI and not making them feel like if you get caught, you're going to be expelled or you're going to get an F or you're going to be, kicked out of the class. If you give them a very clear understanding that to use AI, right, and we're going to keep talking about how we can help the teachers. The more feedback that we have from professors of what they're struggling with and what they see the most, it helps us to communicate with the students. And I think, oh yes, okay. So again, faculty concerns aren't about resisting change. They're about preserving the quality of learning. They want students to think, not just generate. And I understand that as well as a student. But change is coming. 64% of global faculty believe that AI will bring significant transformative change to the roles of instructors. 86% of faculty see themselves using AI in teaching in the future, yet sentiment remains divided, with 65% of viewing AI as an opportunity and 35% perceiving it as a challenge. Faculty in the USA and Canada are more likely to see AI as a challenge. When considering AI's broader impact on higher education, sentiment remains divided. While 50% view it positively, 13% perceive it negatively, and 30% remain neutral, indicating uncertainty among faculty. And that is understandable because we are in the beginning of it. No one is an expert. We are discovering all together at the same time. And the more feedback that we receive from faculty, from staff, and from students, we kind of start, building the guardrails, right? And the thing is that most people that I've spoken to, they'll say, well, AI is bad for the environment. AI is not good because it's going to make you dumb and stupid and you're not going to use your critical thinking, right? So, and I invite those people as well. And the reason for that is this. You drive a car. We'll drive a car. Do you know how the engine runs? Oh, unless you're a mechanic, you probably know. But we don't. We use the car, we get in the car, and we drive it. That's it, right? You've got what is when you go and get your license, the DMV, the manual that you read to train yourself to drive the car, right? It wasn't complicated. You didn't have to do years, right? You did a couple of weeks and you drive and you show how you can, turn signals, and which people don't bother with turn signals here in Arizona or anywhere. The thing is that if you have a voice that is against AI, right, use that voice to build the guardrails, put up the speed limit, the speed bumps, the traffic lights, right? And be part of the conversation instead of like, well, especially for those that say, oh, I don't want to use AI, but yet you use your phone when you wake up in the morning. You watch, all your shows on the phone probably. You send emails, you use your GPS, you Uber, you DoorDash, whatever it is that you do, you still are using AI It may not be ChatGPT or Perplexity or Gemini, but you're still using AI. So your voice is still critical as well. And the data are clear. Faculty want to use AI, but the lack of training and institutional clarity is holding them back, says Alessandro Di Lulu, CEO of Digital Educational Council and academic fellow in AI governance at the University of Hong Kong. At the same time, both institutions and individuals must act now to embrace AI literacy or risk leaving educators and students unprepared for the future. He adds, and I add, unprepared for the workforce.
Evely, just really quick, just so you know that for the virtual attendees this week, I got a blog from the U.S. Department of Education. It is from Dr. Casey Sachs, who is a senior policy advisor on workforce and AI in the U.S. Department of Ed, and she has a model basically on the sort of into the 4 stages of AI integration in education, and some of this kind of mirrors a little bit what you're discussing. And basically her call is that we need to really reinvent learning as a result of where we are, not only technologically, but also as a society, right? So I just wanted to share that because I put that for the virtual attendees, but
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yes, and you're so right on that. And it's the way we're learning, the way we're approaching, because it is a tool, right? When the painter saw the photographer take a picture and say, that's not art, it's like, well, it's the perspective, right? You have the painter using a paintbrush and you have a photographer, and they're gonna both, one is gonna paint the Eiffel Tower, the other one is gonna take a photography. What value are you putting on it? That's on you. How are you using the tool is on you. Whether you want to take years painting, right? Or taking a picture right away, which now we use our phones and we take videos, we film, we take pictures and do all these different fancy things now. And someone says, well, creating art. Like I created this piece right here, right? With AI art, it was probably either Grok or ChatGPT, and I said exactly what I wanted. I expressed that in words. I didn't say, give me just a picture with the school. I was very deliberate and specific of what I wanted, and it gave me this image. So the difference right now, when I'm showing you this picture, is because universities are already using AI. I've been speaking about AI the moment ChatGPT came out, which was probably 3 years ago. And I've been voicing podcasts, just learning, just talking about it, helping students navigate it so they don't feel like we're being accused of cheating, which cheating's been going on for decades. This is nothing new. But what I want to show here is that universities are using already AI, and students from here transfer to universities. So it is important for them to be AI fluent. And also, there's a lot of deep research that I wanted to share here. I mean, this is a tough audience because faculty and staff, but K through 12, OpenAI is going to be helping the professors to learn, AI tools. So we have K through 12 and we have universities. Community colleges is right in the middle of that. And it's revealing the gap. So it's important that we start the conversation this way. Today is very, very important for me, for Jason, for all of us, to just start, not just learning the tools. We're gonna learn the tools regardless, but it's having the mindset to be able to move forward in this new culture shift that we're having right now. And I'm right into the culture shift. And it's asking the better question. Again, from the CRE class, thank you. The CRE class where I learned also about asking the right questions. It is about asking the right question, right? If you don't ask, you're not gonna receive. And if we ask vaguely, that's what we're gonna get. So it's helping students navigate how to ask a question. Why is this important? How is this relevant? Where is the information coming from, right? And having them question even that answer. And we're gonna go deeper into this when we go into our series with students. And why does this matter for EMCC? I mean, this is our population, this is our culture, this is what's happening now. And they will encounter AI in universities and the workforce. If fear is put in them, you're putting them to a disadvantage later. So it's an opportunity and it's our responsibility to ensure that our students are prepared for the environments they're headed into, not just the classrooms they're in now. I think, Jason, this is going to be you. Right, this is the other. In this room, guardrails, not fear, not here to catch students. Because that's sometimes how I feel. I feel like they're bouncers, like they're like, you know, ready to catch me if you can, right? I feel like any moment, like when I remember as a student, I don't know which class it was, that they needed to see my Google edits. I was like, what? Really? You need to see my Google edits? You know, do you want to see your staff Google edits or your teachers Google edits? No, you just edit. And we have Grammarly, right? And nobody mentioned about don't use Grammarly. We use Grammarly. We started using it. I mean, people used to be upset when Google came out. The first time Google came out, oh, it's going to ruin, you know, people and the mindset and the critical thinking. But we had encyclopedia. We have the library. Yes, I know if you want them to go and search for it, and I get it. But now, instead of us going to search for it, right, it's coming to us. But we're still the director, and we're still the person that is asking and creating that what's being received is given to us. And I leave it there. And Jason, this is yours.
Thank you very much, Emily. Couple of points. So I'm going to talk about mental health and AI really quick, but I want you to keep in mind the diversity of our roles as counselors here in the community colleges. We do career counseling, we do crisis, we do personal, right? So I'm going to go into a very specific lane here about personal regarding AI, but we readily use AI tools in terms of career counseling. There are immense great ways to use AI tools for career exploration, for re-careering, for redrafting resumes to different industries, for doing deep dive research into industries, very specific locally. You can even get into policy manuals, governance manuals. You can get into culture of a company. You can do so much good stuff with AI in terms of research for students. It's amazing. So keep in mind our roles as counselors are diverse. So I've been using these tools in many different facets with students from career exploration, writing products, creating new products, solving personal problems, coming up with strategies, all those kinds of things. But very specifically, we're going to stick with mental health right now. And again, I'm probably throughout this whole series, we're going to weave in these tools. So if you have not noticed, this entire presentation was created with Gamma. Gamma is a fabulous tool that I just learned from Evely, and it has transformed some of my products that I've created in other tools into amazing visuals. So again, we will be covering a lot of these tools throughout the 4-part series, but very on the surface, because we're more concerned with the culture and the fluency conversation. The tools are just added bonuses, and we can sit down and learn those and play with those at any time. So there's been some news lately about people relying on AI for mental health. And that sounds alarming. It should sound alarming. There's been several very bad cases in the news where students, because I'm used to that word, folks have committed suicide based on conversations with chatbots. And what I will say is, first, you should never, ever replace a crisis. In a crisis, you should never replace a human with a chatbot. And we're going to get through all that in a minute. AI is obviously limited in terms of its emotional intelligence, its ability to process language into emotion, its ability to recognize real crisis, its ability to recognize nuances in tone, in nonverbals. It's impossible, like those kinds of things just cannot happen with AI. However, we live in a society that is feeling more and more isolated. And if you've been privy to the Hope survey results of last year, where they surveyed, I think it was like 70,000 college students across the country, right? The general sentiment is that anxiety, depression, homelessness, and food insecurities are probably double what they were 5 to 7 years ago in terms of the population that we serve in the community colleges across the country. So there's an immense need for mental health resources. There's an immense culture of isolation. And those two things combined lead to people leaning on products and chatbots for help when they could be very detrimental to the situation. So there are some good AI bots out there, but again, you would never, ever, 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 ever want to replace a human with a bot in a real crisis. I'm gonna give you an example. If you are a newbie to AI, I'm gonna show you something real quick. Oh, hey, good morning.
Hey there, how's it going?
You know, I am not feeling really good today. I had a fight with my partner. I'm feeling anxious, and I don't think I can go on with my day.
I'm really sorry to hear that you're feeling this way. It sounds like you're dealing with a lot of anxiety right now, and that can make everything feel pretty overwhelming. Just take a deep breath and remember that it's okay to have these moments. You don't have to solve everything right this second. If you need a little break or just someone to talk to, I'm here for you.
So, well, to the layperson, that sounds like really relatable. And man, I could sit here and talk to that guy forever. That is not the path you want to take in a crisis. So I'm going to go over what some of these apps can do and what they absolutely cannot do. If you want some examples of a good mental health app, Noah AI is the #1 rated in the country. It is a paid service. It's a pretty in-depth therapist that has crisis outreach and response. But again, it is not a human being. It cannot pick up on facial expressions, microaggressions, microaffect displays, nuances in your tone, those kinds of things. So really important to re-emphasize human connection in this age of AI. We are not trying to replace people. We're trying to enhance the products and the services that people deliver, which is a big shift in, I think, the way people understand or think about AI. So, a framework for mental health professionals and informed individuals on the appropriate and limited role is psychoeducational, obviously, right? We can explain coping skills, we can explain these concepts, mental health terminology. We can do self-reflection prompts, right? Like I just spoke to a bot about how I'm anxious, and he was talking to me about take some time, take a break, calm down, let's talk some more. So it recognizes prompts. It recognizes my linguistic cues. It does not recognize my tone. Skill rehearsal. Let's talk about people who are nervous to talk to people. Let's talk about people who are nervous to interview. Let's talk about how to answer questions professionally. Skill rehearsal can be great with an AI bot because it's literally like video recording yourself doing an interview. It'll give you feedback, it'll help you correct what you say and those kinds of things. But again, skill rehearsal, when we're talking about psychoeducational stuff, you're getting into muddy water and you really need some human feedback or validation. Emotional labeling, again, very shady, very kind of in the weeds. You heard me just tell a bot that I was feeling anxious, and it still really didn't know what to do with it. It just kept telling me to take a break and calm down. So the key principle is AI can support insight and skill building, but it does not provide treatment, diagnosis, or relational care. It does give, as you heard in my bot, it gives the illusion of empathy to the person who is isolated. That's a dangerous trap to get into. Again, why we need to
stick with human connection, relationships, and we need in crisis and uncertain situations, you're always going to need human connection for someone to kind of sit down with you and go through the process and evaluate you. The part of the skill of counseling psychology is not just the verbal stuff. It's reading the whole person, the nonverbals, the appearance, the micro affects, all that stuff. So the illusion of empathy and understanding why AI feels compassionate, but fundamentally is not. It can mirror language patterns. It can validate an emotion linguistically. You just heard it associate anxiety with calm down, take a break. Respond quickly and calmly. It did that. It was so calm and non-judgmental when it replied to me. It has no idea how intense my crisis is. What it cannot do, it cannot experience genuine emotion. It can't hold relational memory. Think how important that is. Relational memory. Unless you have really programmed your own bot, like down to the nanocell, it will not have any relational memory with you. So it will not be able to process your future conflicts. Understanding cultural or historical context, unless you have fed it all that information of hundreds of years of psychotrauma, it's not going to relate to your decades of cultural and historical harm and trauma-informed decisions. Detect subtle risk signals. It will not detect subtle risk signals. It cannot know how my affects and my words are lining up. And it will not share accountability for duty of care. So if I go do something really egregious or harmful, who is going to sue who? You're going to go to AI and say, I'm suing you because you didn't do duty of care. There's no license that says AI has duty of care. So empathy does not equal pattern recognition. AI recognizes language, not lived experiences. Critical limitations in a personal crisis, these should be obvious, right? Suicidal ideation requires immediate human assessment, safety planning, and relational support. It is a dialogue like a roller coaster, and it involves several people when it happens. AI can never be an asset in a suicide ideation situation. Trauma processing, like I just spoke about, a lot of us are trauma respond based on our histories with trauma or childhood trauma or whatever kind of trauma-informed decisions you make. AI cannot process that with you or for you. It cannot get into your historical memories and adequately help you with any of that. Abuse situations. Again, relational memories, relational situations, relational history. You cannot do any of that. That demands contextual understanding, safety evaluation, and real-world interventions with real humans. Severe mental illness, depression, anxiety, psychosis, disassociation need professional clinical expertise. And identity-based distress, cultural competence, and lived understanding, that can never be automated. So humans are irreplaceable. Crisis is dynamic, contextual, and relational, meaning is co-constructed between people. Human clinicians notice tone, pauses, contradictions, affect. Ethical care requires responsibility, consent, and follow through. So ethical framing for educators and clinicians. So a responsible framework to share with students, clients, and colleagues would be to frame AI as adjunctive. AI can help prepare, it can help reflect, and can help process information. But healing and actual crisis support and meaning making require human connections. Again, the relational aspects of therapy and education will never, ever, ever be replaced by AI. Use clear, direct language. AI is a tool, not a therapist. Use AI to support your care, not replace it. Meaning, I have spoken to a human therapist. I understand what I am dealing with at this moment. I have an action plan. My action plan I can be held accountable to my action plan through AI, but AI should not be counseling me on my progress emotionally at all. It should be holding me accountable. Hey, on Mondays, you said you were going to meditate.
On Tuesdays, you said you were gonna go for a bike ride. On Thursdays, you said you were gonna journal. AI can hold you accountable like that in terms of mental health, but it can never, ever replace the relational aspects of healing. Establish crisis protocols. If something feels urgent, overwhelming, or unsafe, involve a real person. Should never be relying on AI in emergent situations. Position AI as a low-risk supplement for insight and skill building, never, ever as a substitute for a therapeutic relationship or a crisis intervention. When a support tool becomes an emotional substitute and maladapting coping emerges, the risk of over-reliance, right? So when support tool becomes an emotional substitute, like again, speaking to the culture of isolation and people who really feel alone, they tend to delay seeking help, which is going to prolong the issue and potentially make it worse. Users may avoid professional care believing AI is sufficient. They're just getting confirmation about their emotional state from their bot. They're never really doing a deep dive or seeking healing or seeking closure or getting some type of legit therapy. It reinforces avoidance. If you're being satisfied with the psychoeducational bits you're getting from your bot, you're going to continue to avoid real people, real interactions, and real challenges to your situation, and that is going to not play well for your healing and moving on. It reduces social connection. So here's the where we're stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? AI helps us so much become so individualized, independent, and productive all by ourselves. But AI started as this massive social network like Facebook, Instagram, all these massive social connection spaces. We've sort of moved away, and now like the AI production, automation, individualized success stories are becoming the priority. We're getting away from the social connection aspect, which I think is fascinating as a trend. But AI really started with social media. Everything you do on social media is AI driven. Every email you get, every advertisement you get is AI driven from everything you do socially. So it's kind of a crux. We still need to remain social while using all these awesome AI tech tools. It cannot replace human connection, ever. False diagnostic confidence. Oh my God, am I guilty of this? And I think probably most non-psychology people are super guilty of this. Do not diagnose yourself. Do not ask AI to diagnose you. Do not feed it a bunch of information and go, what do I have? It's not going to give you the right answer. It won't. It might scare you. It might send you into a spin because it might suggest you have something you don't. Or it might blow your problems out of proportion instead of giving you an actual plan of attack where you can eliminate your stresses in your life. So do not ask AI to diagnose. It normalizes isolation during distress. Again, this goes back to the first point. When you are stressed out, and this goes for anybody listening, literally, when I'm stressed out, overwhelmed, feel like no one is listening, I tend to hunker down and like stop talking, right? So this, if we have, and I'm educated in this. So while I'm doing this, I am fully aware of all the bad moves I'm making in my head. But to the normal person, the lay person who does not have the psychoeducational tape running while they're acting, this becomes the replacement and it normalizes them relying on the bot. We cannot do that. We cannot have people in distress continue to isolate themselves because they get nowhere, they do not get any healing, growth, or release from their distress. Why people in therapeutic relationships still matter profoundly. Genuine empathy, shared vulnerability. This shared vulnerability is one of the biggest things that AI will never be able to do for you. Ethical responsibility, cultural humility, therapeutic alliance, and care continuity. These are the human elements of therapy and education that AI will never ever be able to replace. But to the professional who's doing these things, these tools can help them become a better servant of their clientele, a better provider of their service, have a better understanding, even develop new ways to deliver the service. So in closing the mental health piece, again, we're going to be talking about so many aspects of AI, which is why we're keeping the theme broad from fear to fluency. Like today, I'm talking about mental health. Edley talked about the culture. We're going to be talking about art and music and psychoeducation and what? And oh yeah, and like beyond the copy and paste culture. And talk about how this is being utilized. So I'm basically talent management for external business out in the community, and I own my own business out in the community. AI has sped me up past people who've been in these industries for years, to the point where I'm being contacted about some of my products. Like, how did you do that? You've only been doing this for X number of years. I've been doing this for 20. Let me show you how I did that. Every workshop I've gone to on the outside, as Edley alluded to at the beginning of this presentation, if we are sending students into the workforce, one of the first things they're getting asked these days, what do you know? What can you show me? What tools do you know? I've been to like 3 workshops specifically on AI in the community recently with professionals from every industry. And I can tell you, there is a genuine panic buy, is what I call it. When I went to Edley's presentation on Notebook LM through City of Goodyear, that room was full of adult professionals who were in panic buy mode. Literally, they were saying things like, I'm getting smoked at work by the 20-year-olds. My kid is telling me I need to learn AI, and my industry is all over it, and I have been delaying so long that now I need to do it. I've heard this so many times over the last year from professionals in all industries. This is key factor. If we're not talking about AI all the time and showing our students how to use it ethically, appropriately, and in dialogue with our educational practices, like in collaboration with, we're missing the boat, because every job they walk into now is going to be like, what AI tools do you know? How can you generate leads for us? How can you bring us more customers? How can you get our name out on social media quicker and more effectively? How can you track that it's even effective? How can you tell me which apps are working, which aren't? These are literally questions being asked of 18 to 25-year-olds right now. And no one is asking them, what degree do you have? Nobody. They're not asking, do you have a degree in Microsoft or IT? No, they're like, do you know chat? Do you know Perplexity? Do you know Gamma? Can you do marketing decks? Yes, I can do a marketing deck for you in 15 minutes. Ask a marketing student to do a 25-page marketing deck. It's not gonna happen. So it's here. We need to fully dive in and embrace it and partner with our students and our clients in reinventing how we embrace this culture of AI.
Thank you. So, wow, that was a lot. But
there is a comment in the chat, if I could. So thank you so much, Jason and Evelyn. And I know if you will prefer that we wait a little bit until you all are done, or is it okay if I go ahead and read it out to you?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. This is from Matthew Starr. I'm curious if they have thoughts about how to frame a discussion with students early in a course to promote effective use of AI as a learning tool and avoid treating it as a fallback option to save time.
Well, I'll say yes right now. Like, I can put that together for you in a heartbeat. Absolutely. That is what we're talking about. We're talking about being preemptive. We're talking about creating a culture where we can just start with acknowledging, hey, these are the tools that we'll let you use or that I prefer you use. Tell me about your experience with them now. Let's talk about how we can integrate them into this lesson plan or this class. Let's talk about the guidelines about our agreement between instructor and student and these tools, and then let's produce some really good work.
Yes, and I can add to that as a student, like I said earlier, that the teacher sets the tone in the room, right? So I can speak from a perspective, I bartended for many years at one of the high-end clubs in New York City, and I went from the club to the martinis, to the restaurants, to the sports bar, and then I became a bartender teacher. When I did that, and I was a high ringer because you have to ring the register. When I became a teacher, I had to learn how to instruct the students, even though I was a high ringer. It didn't, it doesn't translate the same. And the professor, the owner who owns 50 schools in every state. So they came to New York City. And when he was teaching me, one of the things was, you have to teach it in a way that is very simple and not overcomplicated. They've never seen this before, and I'm sure that if I was to take all of you here, every single one of you will be knowing how to bartend and make money. And the reason for that is because my mindset was every single student here paid to get a certificate, to go work and make money. So my mental state was like, okay, my worst student became my top student. And the reason for that is because I know that everyone learns differently. You, I, Jason, people that are here. So if we, and remember, the textbook that we are given is written one way. So when you're in your classroom, this is just a tip, if it's helpful, one of the tips, there's many, you can ask ChatGPT, how is it that you teach, right? In our classrooms, we have engineers, nurses, accountants, graphic designers, security, cybersecurity, and psychology students. We all come from different backgrounds. We all learn differently. Some of them are super smart and fast and they get it. Other ones, they trail along. I'm not a fast learner. I need analogies. I need you to break it down for me. And that's the beauty of ChatGPT, because I can ask ChatGPT till I'm blue in the face, till midnight, and it's not gonna say, hey, your time is up. And I can keep on asking. And I remember the first time that I used ChatGPT, and I was so invested in this chapter in psychology, and I couldn't email my professor because it was like 11 o'clock at night. She's going to answer me the next day, or when she has the working hours, right, the office hours open. But I was invested right there in that chapter, and I wanted to continue with that chapter. I didn't want to go and just close the book and be like, okay, I'll ask tomorrow, because you know what happened there is that it kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? I was so invested that now I'm like, well, I have an answer. I have a question, but I don't have an answer. So chat helped me to move forward, to understand and break down every single word in that chapter. And it made me more curious. And that is the word that I was looking for before. You have to be curious with this tool. It's a curiosity. We're all creators. We're all born creators, period. Now, and you have ideas and thoughts and things you wondered about that you wanted to figure out, and now you have this tool. And this tool is going to help you navigate that process. So now going back to speaking to your students, we have all different levels. Use analogies in your classroom. There are certain things that when, in my last class, statistics with Dr. Wager, she was talking about the p-value and deviation, standard deviation, and I'm like, I don't get it. And I told Chad, I need to understand standard deviation. Can you explain that to me as a traffic analogy with cars? Because I love driving. So when you don't understand something, use something that you're really good at, whether it's understanding football, basketball, baking, sewing, to explain it to you in that form. I learned algebra with ChatGPT. And I asked, and this was in the summer, and it's 5 weeks, so it's very hard, what I said to Chat that day was, I said, oh, and by the way, again, the intention and how you set the tone in the class. I was scared of this class because it was in the summer, and I normally don't take classes in the summer. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to pass this class, and if I don't pass this class, I can't go to my next class, right? So I said to Chat, I want you to explain to me algebra like a filmmaker. I'm originally a filmmaker from New York City. So I understand that language very well. Screenwriting, directing, I understand it. So when it explained back to me, and I'm going to give you the example, the algebra example. So first I solved it. First I wanted to see if I can solve it. So I solved it. And then I took a picture and I uploaded it to ChatGPT and I said, can you check my work? And when it checked my work, this is what it came back with, right? I already told it to give it to me as a filmmaker. So it checked the answer for me and it said, great job. However, you left your actor without a costume, meaning that I didn't drop my X's and my Y's as I was solving. So I solved the problem, but I didn't bring my X and my Y's down. I never forgot that. I'm like, okay, can't forget that. Yes. So now I'm like, that stayed with me. Standard deviation, the traffic, is you too far, you too close, right? And it's giving that analogy and that support to the student to help them feel confident. Because as a student myself, and as an adult learner, and I've been out in the field, the workforce, I hear the stories among the students in the classroom. I'm like a fly in the wall sometimes, and I'm looking at it in the macro. And I am watching the professors, and I'm watching the students. And the students, when they don't comprehend something and they feel dumb and they don't feel they can get it, or they're having issues at home and things are just really hard, if you can just share with them what's the problem that you're having that you don't understand and create 3 different analogies in the classroom, that's gonna bring a relief to that student, that stress and that anxiety. Because as a student, the moment that I started getting something and that clicked, that light bulb went on, now it's like popcorn. I'm like, what else? And I would go back and ask ChatGPT, okay, now that I understand certain aspects of psychology, I want to learn more. How can I apply it in my daily life? So when I talk to ChatGPT, I'll say, what is the train of thought behind this question? And how should I answer it? And what is it that I need to understand about this question? Because sometimes when we see a question, we're very quick and we'll answer it. But when you really look into the word specifically, there's a meaning behind every word. It's the context. And students sometimes just fly by and they don't understand what the context is. So it's bringing them to the learning, it's bringing them to be curious, it's bringing them to ask questions. I mean, when I take a class, some of the teachers, they'll send me to YouTube, and I go and learn. And then I come back to the class in person, and they'll say, ask me a question if you have a question. I'm like, wait a second. But I just went and watched YouTube. Now I'm here, and I want you to explain to me this information that we just learned. Oh, I need your analogy. I need to understand it to move forward. I mean, if that's the case, then I'll just stay on YouTube. So, but what I'm trying to say is that the professors are so important in the classroom because you are a walking ChatGPT. You are. And that's what I want you to understand. You are the walking ChatGPT. If we ask you something, you're like, you find it in your file. Now we're just giving you a tool, right? Or we were given a tool to make things easier for us. Now you can spend more time talking to us as students, and you can, have time to do your assignments, you do your, curriculum, right? And ask ChatGPT if they're writing an essay, what is the strengths and weaknesses of that essay and how can I help the student? And then that student, since we're already using AI, they're gonna take it and say, what was that? What was I thinking? How should I look at this differently? But I don't want to continue going on in this, but you get the picture of what I'm trying to communicate here. And we do need your participation during this series to encourage students to attend. The next series is going to be beyond copy and paste. I think you would go back. Let me go back on that one. Let's see, let me go back here. This series, we're going to go and use the tools. We're going to talk really critical about their thinking and the things that I learned here of how to ask a question with the CRE book that's here, right? Ask the right questions. You guys have it here. The English professors that are here, Brianna is an amazing English teacher. Heather that I have for CRE, amazing. They understand the utilization of the AI with their students because I attended their class, right? And they're so supportive of it as well. Of course, they don't want the students to be copy and paste, and that's what we're going to talk about on the next episode. So please speak to your students, or even have us in your classrooms for credit. If they cannot come and attend to this CTL and they're in class, we'll do a brief, probably 15 minutes if that's the case for not to interrupt your class. But it's important that we start having this dialogue, because if we don't have it now, the student really suffers when they go out there in the workforce. And we're going to continue speaking on this on our own. I mean, I talk about AI when I'm walking in the lunchroom, if I'm in the library, if I'm walking across the other side of campus, I am approaching students to see where they're at in their AI journey, and helping them navigate, if they are using it, to use it in a wise way. And this is the other thing I wanted to mention about the APA paper. When it comes to the APA research, we are taught a lot about formats and periods and commas and, the citations, and that is great and all. But in order for a student, when I came here as a student, learning an APA paper to me was like, whoa, what is this? I come from film, so I thought writing was like creative writing, but it's academic writing, which is a difference in academic. So when I used ChatGPT and I was like, okay, so explain to me the APA paper and the importance of it. And when I understood that, I was like, oh, it's like a recipe. It's building a cake. And I can add to it or test it or remove something from it and talk about it, right? So when students start understanding, and this is the thing about when you understand, learning something you can learn and you put it in your pocket, you put it in your journal, and that's it, and it stays there. But when you apply it, for me, that's like me in a candy store. When I apply it and I see it, I'm like, oh wow, and now I want to discover more things. Now I'm curious of building things. But please, we do appreciate your support in sharing the series with the students. This is just extra, but I want to have some time, because we only have about 15 minutes to have a conversation. We can open the mics, and if you have any questions, we can talk about it right now. Does anyone have any questions?
This dialogue has opened up so many thoughts for me.
Okay.
I use a lot of different tools, a lot.
Can they hear us? Can they hear you?
Let me get you back. Sorry.
Wait 1 second, we're gonna give you the mic, okay.
From a faculty perspective, one of the things I want to really encourage folks to strongly consider is the absolute essential assessment of student learning outcome in regards to AI in terms of critical thinking. In IT worlds, they talk about garbage in, garbage out. The problem with these tools are that it may be garbage going in, and I'm going to talk about that in just a second, and it's gospel coming out. GIGO has changed. AI, what it is and what it isn't, it's basically, and Jason, you said a really interesting thing when talking about social media migrating to AI. Social media gave them the vehicle to capture trillions upon trillions of data points.
Oh, yeah.
And people who didn't date in high school looked at those data points and did analysis and saw, I see trends.
Mhm.
And so they find other hooks to get other bits of information, and that's both good and bad.
Mhm.
It's how you use it. With that, it evolved into AI, and with the AI, now they have the power to do predictive analytics to know what you're going to do before you ever do it.
Mhm.
Um,
Like if you're in Texas.
yes, Amazon's real business has nothing to do with selling
Right.
books
Nope.
and clothes.
Same with
It's AWS. That's where it's all at. It's fascinating, phenomenal, and dangerous.
Yeah.
But the way all this stuff works is when they first start designing these large language models, they pose a lot of questions and get responses, and they see what you say. And then they kind of analyze what you're saying, categorize it, and a few folks sit back and say, yeah, this is the one we really agree with. And then they run it through an iterative process again.
The
And
human vibe test, that's an actual term.
yeah,
Human vibe validation.
yeah, it's fascinating. And so eventually, that's where the models come from. So when you're talking about using ChatGPT or Claude, which is the one I use a lot,
Claude, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's really on the basis of still human perspective, but what it gets into from an analyst perspective is it's phenomenal for finding correlation.
Yes.
Your questions against other answers that it's given. But there is possibly a misalignment between correlation and causation.
Yeah.
That's why it's so bad with psychological profiles, because it does not have enough data points, at least now. Now, 20 years from now,
Complex.
when, there's a camera every 10 feet,
Mhm.
we're toast.
Yeah.
But that correlation, that causation creates a lot of the problems that we get into. So that's why I come back full circle to make sure your students understand critical thinking.
Right.
And there's, like 4 stages of all of this. It's like total chaos, having no clue what it is, terrified of it, to blind acceptance, to being an incredibly skeptical individual of what it is and what it's not,
Mhm.
and then enlightenment
Right.
of what it can do for you.
Right.
And the danger in my field is a lot of people think the results they get out of AI give them the answers, but they don't have people, without folks doing partly what research does. If people don't understand what the data is and isn't,
Right.
you're gonna make some really bad
Right,
assumptions.
right.
Right.
And so that's the crux of where critical thinking comes into play, is really teaching your students
Mhm.
to respectfully question everything.
Everything.
Right,
Go all X-Files on me.
right. That's why we're stressing the fluency and the acceptance, right?
Mhm.
Because if you just accept it and start having these conversations openly, we would get better use, better interpretation, right? One of the things I wanted to mention about the culture of the community colleges versus the culture of universities in K through 12 is, for those left in the room, we're doing this thing called Title II compliance. And I don't know if you've seen the district's AI resource email they sent out with this 20-page horrendous document with these links that who knows go to where. Did you know, and Liz is going to kill me for this because the district won't support this, but again, that's the culture thing, right? We're talking about culture.
Culture. Mhm.
Culture of the community college and its lack of culture in AI. Chat GPT, if you have the paid version of Chat 5, it can make your entire Canvas Title II compliant in about 30 seconds, but the district won't support that. So one of the things that Jim just triggered for me is there's a lot of people in the organization that are super fluent, super savvy. The culture of the organization does not support that at all. Even in our required work, even our compliant work, if we were at ASU, they would have dropped it on all of us and said, go forth, fix everything with this tool we give you because we know how good it is. Maricopa, they're like, nope, we're not giving you that tool. We don't trust that tool. Don't use that tool. We're gonna make it really hard for you to make everything compliant. Chat 5, $20 a month, get your stuff compliant. Don't kill me, Liz.
So I was going to say, I definitely don't believe in violence. And so I would never do that, first. And second, I mean, I think, going back to this idea of there is some risk management that we have to be aware of in terms of how we are using personal identifying information and other things for students. And I think that's kind of as a institution, a lot of where the work needs to perhaps kind of happen. And at the same time, it's like, how do you strike that balance, right, between risk management, appropriate use of information? These large language models definitely are valuable, and we also know not fail safe, right? We know that there's bias, there's a lot of that has been researched, and we know that the technology has improved, but it is still not 100% fail safe. And so I think that's where the institution comes from. And I will say that there is a desire from many of us who work, especially in like centers for teaching and learning and working directly with faculty, to say we need to do more kind of at the institutional level so that we have, for example, all access to the same tools so that there is an equitable learning experience for all of our students. And so again, it's a complicated conversation. And as somebody who works in the Center for Teaching and Learning, these are questions that we're constantly asking our district office for guidance on. It's just sometimes that guidance comes a lot slower. And the one thing I always say is, it's going to take us, 20 months to get that policy fully vetted through legal. But we have students currently today in our classes that we need to be supporting. And so again, how do we strike that balance? And hopefully, we encourage everyone here today. Thank you so much for joining us. I know so many people had to kind of run during this busy time, but we hope that to see you in upcoming sessions.
We
And I'll
really appreciate the support from the CTL and Dr. Cantu and Workforce Development and Blackstone.
Yes.
And Ellie, you did a really good job. It was a pleasure co-presenting with you. Our next one is on January 29th. It's called From Fear to Fluency, Beyond Copy and Paste, where we will start doing prompt engineering and other stuff.
Yes, thank you so much again for being here, for your time, and for supporting AI fluency culture, which is one of the things that is so important. I mean, I understand that there is some logistics that need to be done in regards to higher ups in Maricopa, but what we can start doing is really having a conversation of AI fluency. So when we do get that green light, students are, faculty and staff are mentally prepared to jump in and say, okay, but it's the mental state that needs to be there as well, because at the end of the day, this is about the workforce. And we're preparing students for the workforce. So speed is of the essence right now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Wishing everyone a great start to the semester, and we'll connect with you at an upcoming event. Take care.